All right, we can begin here. So the first is to approve the minutes from October.
The only thing I saw in the minutes was my last name was spelled wrong.
Oh, we gotta fix that. Yeah, why are they Sherry, huh?
Still there, so. Yeah.
All right, well, we'll make that fix. Anyone see anything else? There's a lot there.
Yeah, I mean, I had put in some changes that are indicated
Yeah.
here, so I think they're accurate from my perspective.
So how about a motion to approve the minutes?
I'll second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right. So next on those, no consent agenda, open forum. Moving on to the financial report.
So I included 2 months there. You know, if you look at the December revenue totals, it looks a bit alarming, but if you look at the bottom line year to date, we're still pretty close to, you know, into December last year compared to this year. A lot of it's timing. You know, we're in the middle of dock renewals, slip renewals, and then moorings coming up, and you know, waterway user fee and all that stuff is upcoming. So I think we're okay. Today was the first day when people can put in for transient dockage. So as you can imagine, Michelle had a list this long of requests. We say midnight on January 15th is the earliest we'll take reservations for the following year, for the coming year. So I expect our
Numbers to go up.
Numbers to be good again this year. Yeah,
That's great.
it just depends. You know, a lot of people like these long-term transient, and it just depends on how many people aren't using their slips. Obviously, we have designated transient slips
Door.
that we rent, and then those that slips where people aren't using them or for whatever reason, you know, we try to do long-term. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, our revenues, I think, are fine. If there's any questions, I certainly can try to answer them.
Any questions?
None of the rates changed this year, right?
No, next year, I think we'll have a rate change, yeah. Not this year. When we last changed them in 2021, and when I did the rate change and I made the proposal to the board, I had indicated that, you know, we kind of like to try to get on a 4-year cycle. And so year 4 is coming up, and I expect.
Yeah, was that gonna be like 3% or something? Wasn't
Yeah.
it? Yeah.
So,
Did you get sticker shock the first year, or do people understand that it only happens every 3 or 4 years? So
yeah, I
the
mean,
first
I
year-
think, you know, there hadn't been a rate change for a while. And I didn't do it for several years until we updated the marina. I just felt like charging more for what we were giving them with those docks was, in good conscience, I couldn't do that. So when we did the marina 2018, that year, we had raised the rates pretty significant. I mean, but no, I didn't get any complaints because it hadn't been for a while.
Yeah.
And then we did another rate change 4 years later. And, you know, we had some people kind of question, well, how often is this going to happen? And so that's why I want to try to make it so it's on schedule so people understand,
Yeah.
you know.
You can budget for it. You can.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
And that was my thought. You know, we have people, as you've heard in the last meeting or meeting before, coming forward and say, hey, it's time to a rate change. And I hear that from different people, you know, politically, you know, who would like to see additional revenue. I'd like to try to keep it on schedule.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, that's how I've
Yeah.
kind of,
But I mean, you go to private clubs or private docks too. I mean, they keep the rates the same, but you get whacked with huge assessments. So I mean,
Right.
there's multiple ways to do it, and
Right.
you know,
I mean, our rates are good.
It's a law of averages,
You know, if
really.
you
It's
compare
very good.
us to others,
Oh,
yeah,
we are
absolutely.
good, but, you know, I always thought we don't want to just be a rich club, you know, rich person's club, you know, I mean, I just don't, I think we try to keep our rates as reasonable and, you know, competitive, but I don't want to be on the high end, you know, I mean, I think it should be open to,
but 100% occupancy is better than
Right.
50 with huge rates.
Right.
So
right.
I mean,
If you remember last time, we had like, don't quote me, you know, pretty much every rate went up by 3 or 4%. But I went up 10% rate on the transient rate. Because one, I thought it was low. Two, you know, those visitors who are coming in, I'd rather
a
have
luxury
them pay
item.
more significantly than our regulars who renew every year. And so to me, that was justifiable, and I think it worked. So, yeah.
All right.
Okay.
New business.
So the first one.
Yep.
Right, let's see. So we have. You want me to-
Please go right ahead.
sorry.
No?
So I'll just give a quick brief overview, and then Paul Wittenstein, right? Stein or Steen? I couldn't remember. Wittenstein. He is the general manager of ARC, which is the Aquaculture Research Corporation. They're the ones who run the shell fishery hatchery on the Herring River in that fish house that's right at the entrance of Herring River. They've been doing it for several years now. And so this issue has been their request to put in what they call a flupsy is essentially a float that has different compartments to grow seed, and they have some type of pump system. I'll let him explain the details of it. But essentially why it's in front of us is because they're requesting to have this float in place that is held by moorings, vice going through the Chapter 91 state permitting process where they would drive piles, which makes it a water-dependent structure. And I, as the harbor master, by Mass General Law, have the authority to issue mooring permits. And so their request has come to us to be able to put this single float in place that is held by moorings, and we would issue the permits to do so. I have made the decision that while, if you read my memo, I support it, I'm elevating it up to the Board of Selectmen level for approval through what we consider working moorings. It's defined in the harbor management plan that really are meant for boatyards type businesses to help in running their business. So for example, we have a working mooring in Richmond Inner Harbor that is been assigned to what used to be Crossrip. I think it still is Crossrip Construction. It's been sold. Skipper Lee used to have it. Now I think it's under a different ownership. But that is a working mooring. Ames Marine in Round Cove has a working mooring. There are a few working moorings that are defined in our harbor management plan that is really defined for that purpose. I think what they want to do, it would fit within that definition of a working mooring. And so what is being proposed in front of the board is just that, and I'd like to be able to go in front of the Board of Selectmen with your recommendation, whether you support it or not support it, after you hear from Paul what it will entail. So maybe we can hear from Paul next.
Yeah, please.
Yeah, it's basically, it's a FLUPD, it stands for a floating upweller. So like John said, we've been working in that building on the river since 2017. We have upweller tanks in the building where we pump water out of the river through the tanks, the shellfish eat the algae, and then basically purified water is going back into the river. And what we'd like to do is put one of these floating upwellers next to the building. The footprint is just an 8-foot by 20-foot floating dock. And the deck lifts up, so it's got compartments underneath it that hold the shellfish seed. And powered by just a 1/2 horsepower little ice heater pump with a propeller. And that's it. And that would give us the capacity to grow like 2 to 5 more million more cohogs or oysters, just to help keep up with demand. And that's basically it. It'd be real small footprint. It'd operate seasonally. We'd probably put it in April or May, have it out by October. And it's simple.
How many moorings does it take? Just
2.
2?
Yeah.
I think we would put one on each end.
Yep.
Yeah.
And hold it in place. Especially because it's seasonal, I don't see that there's an issue. We did something very similar from the perspective of natural resources. If you remember, we issued some mooring permits to hold the kelp farm that Mark Kelleher did out. Remember, it was seasonal in nature. It was proposed as a pilot project.
It was going to be under the water.
He did it for a couple of seasons,
Yeah.
right? And it held by moorings that we permitted. And then he wanted to expand that and do it year round to put oyster bags out there, and that didn't fly,
Yeah.
right? Because I felt it was a navigational hazard because it was going to be right in the middle of the summer season and so forth. So that ended.
Right.
But it's very similar to and this float would essentially be right alongside their existing building. If you remember seeing it, it's held up by piles and big steel beams. And from my perspective, it not only is a good thing for their business, but I also view it as somewhat as a safety issue. Because if you remember, some of the feedback we got when we were doing the Wixon dock was the fear that people who would go in the water either to get in their dinghy or who were swimming in the river, the current would sweep them underneath the fish house where the pumps were, and there was that concern. Well, if anything, this might be a buffer.
Yeah.
You know, if indeed that happens, they would essentially get swept with the current up right alongside the 20-foot by 8-foot float, and they could, pull themselves out of the water. If anything, it might be somewhat of a buffer in that regard. So
this is on the north side of the building?
this is on the north side of the building is the location that is being proposed.
What's that do to that, like, public walking path?
Yeah. So I don't see it it's certainly not going to impede the path that we put in place for them to access their dinghies. It's well to the south, right? And I don't see it in any way being a navigational issue. There's nobody really should be operating in there. It's very tidal, for one, and they shouldn't be getting anywhere close to the building that this thing is going to be put in place. So I don't see there being either a navigation issue or an access issue.
Paul, I understand you to say that it will actually improve the quality of the water as well.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, I mean, the more shellfish growing, the better. It controls algae blooms and
So we have no safety, we have no navigational, and we have water quality improvement.
Yeah.
Okay.
And one other point, I guess I think it's worth mentioning, if I may, is I know Paul has been working with our natural resource director, Don Yanuzzi, that a certain number of shellfish are actually planted from, and maybe you can speak to this better than me, Paul, because I don't know numbers, but every year they plant some of that seed that they grow back into the Herring River for the benefit of the town, and I don't know what that number is or what, maybe you don't either, but
it varies year to year. It started out originally as part of the project to repair the building and install the pilings, and the original contract had friends already who owns the building donating shellfish seed to the town for 3 or 4 years, and we just kind of kept it going. We appreciate being in the town. I live in town, so I think this year we put 50,000 cohog seeds, just kind of spread up and down the river. We do something like that every fall.
There's a benefit.
Yeah.
Wow.
Any other
So
questions?
Herring River's like a aquaculture center now. Interesting. So does this end here? Like with, if we approve this float, does this end here or
It's
is,
gotta go to selectmen.
okay, but it doesn't have to go to conservation and all
No.
that stuff? It-
No, it's not a water dependent structure. It's a structure, it's a float that will be held by mooring that the harbor master has the authority to issue. I have made the decision to bring it up to the Board of Selectmen for a couple of reasons, but one, I think it fits into the category of a working mooring. If you remember, our management plan has what they call special purpose moorings and working moorings. They're special categories. We issued a special purpose mooring recently to the Cape Cod Rowing Club, remember?
Yep.
And that's a mooring that we authorized them to have to benefit their boating, education type activity. Working mooring is a different category, and both of those have to be approved by the Board of Selectmen.
Gotcha.
I permit it under Master General Law, Chapter 91, Section 10A, but because it's in that category, it's a change to the harbor management plan, and therefore the board needs to approve it. And I think there's some value in bringing some transparency to what we're doing because of the Riverbend project and all that went on with that. And it's still ongoing. I just want to make sure we're transparent.
Is ARC a nonprofit or? I think
No, we're a private company.
You-
Yeah, it was formed in 1960, and in 2015 it went through a change of hands. We've got a board of directors and some shareholders. We are the longest running and the largest shellfish hatchery in the Northeast Massachusetts. We supply seed to about 80% of the growers on the Cape, and another handful up and down the coast, and also to all the towns in Barnstable County.
Oh, cool.
Wow.
You hear the ARC, but you never know what it is, so.
I'll invite,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, anyone during the season, come down to the fish house and see what we're doing.
That's great.
Yeah.
I have one question, how do you access it? How do you get to it, this float?
Being young and spry, I'd probably hop off the building onto it for now.
Yeah, I didn't know if you have a ladder going down from the building? if
No,
you
we
have-
don't. When probably on the real heavy days, I'd bring a skiff down if we were going to do a lot of work. We occasionally, maybe 5 or 6 times a year, we bring our Carolina skiff around into like when we're pulling pumps or doing plumbing repairs underneath the building. Might do something like that. But just for daily washing, because most of the work is just rinsing and cleaning the tanks daily. I'd probably just hop down off the building at high tide.
One of the stipulations, just so you know, in here was that, they don't have a boat tied to it. Only when they're actually recovering the product or, so servicing the product. But it's not a
tie-up
float
float.
where he's gonna have a boat tied up there, well, any length of time, so.
So when the work is done, he's gone.
Correct. And the float is actually pulled seasonally, right? So they can put it in their lot, their property, whatever it may be, but it's only gonna be there. It's our mooring permit under chapter 10A is, it's a temporary mooring. And so it's in there seasonally, temporarily, and then they haul it and then they'll put it back in for the season.
You don't have any trouble with the neighbors? I know when you were taking that over in 17, they were all worried about trucks coming down and.
Yeah, we're quiet. We've made friends with most of them.
Yeah.
And I'll just add, they've been very friendly to the town as well because they don't block off their parking lot. People can go down there and park in their lot if they're gonna access the Wixon dock. The public often does. And Mr. Zaretti in this operation has
You
been.
guys don't have anything to do with the weir poles, do you?
No, I mean, there were, when we got the property,
I don't know if they're still using weir poles
there
around
was a
there.
pile, and we gave them to the Eldridges, and I think last year or the year before was their last season.
Yeah, they're all gone.
Does anybody weir fish anymore
No.
out there?
We don't have any more permits in Harwich.
Oh, okay.
Kurt Martin does.
Thank God, I almost
Yeah,
I
but
think
not
it's
in
dangerous.
tried
Harwich.
to drive through that thing so many times.
Yeah, not in Harwich. I'm glad to see them go.
Yeah, yeah, jeez.
That was a
I
nightmare.
love that
Sorry,
picture.
commercial fishermen over there, but that's
I
why.
used to work with the Lucases.
Yeah.
God, I
When they
hate
were
it.
doing well.
Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, should we make a motion to
Yeah.
Yeah.
accept the,
I mean, I was just gonna, any other
proposal.
questions? And
Endorse the proposal.
so Ken, you propose to approve?
Yes, I'll make the motion to approve the proposed float as per plan.
Second.
It's a flupsy, buddy. You call it a flupsy.
Flipsy. Oh, flip-flops.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thanks, Paul. Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.
Thanks,
Thank
Paul.
you.
Paul, whatever happened to the old ice grinder that was on that dock?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that thing was a beauty.
Yeah, we got pictures, that's about all that's left.
Scariest piece of shit.
Good night, everyone. Cool.
You too, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, number 2 on new business is the mooring servicing agent renewals. Give it to John.
Sure. So, as you know, last year we went out to bid and much talked about process where a 3-year license agreement was awarded to our 3 mooring servicing agents, which is Allen Harbor Marine, who has the Allen Harbor Mooring Field, Harwich Boatyard, who has the Wichita Inner and Outer, and then for the first time working for the town, it was Lower Cape Marine Services. So we're done with year 1. Okay, it's a calendar year license agreement. So 2014, it's a 3-year license, but every year it needs to go in front of the board to say, hey, the mooring servicing agents are performing satisfactorily, and we recommend that we continue with the license agreement. So this year and next, it's simply going in front. I write this memo that I'll present in front of them along with their insurance certificate recommending that we continue with the 3-year license agreement that we have with each. Again, as my memo says, I think their performance, every one of them's performance has been good. It was a tough first year for Lower Cape Marine Service because of the transition and some of the issues that were presented to them. One, getting all the moorings from the previous mooring servicing agent. They got a late start, and so they worked hard to get them in time for the season and trying to communicate with new customers. And so it's been a little bit of a struggle for them, but not to their detriment, not because of them. They've been working hard. I think they're doing a great job. And I would recommend to you guys that you support renewing and recommending to the board that we continue on the same track.
I just have one question about the mooring service agents in general. So they contract with the individuals individually to perform the work. So I have a mooring in Witchmere.
Yeah.
Harwich Port calls me and says, hey, do you want it pulled? Do you not want it pulled?
Right.
Do you want it checked? Whatever.
Right.
What is where's the level of oversight of these agents doing work that's either not requested or I don't feel like it should be policed by you or the harbor master, but what is the recourse of them pulling moorings that you don't want pulled, or work done on them that you don't necessarily ask for?
Well, I think that's up to you as the permit holder to communicate clearly what you want done. They'll, I'm sure, have listed, their services available to mooring permit holders. They have a list. It's going to cost you this much to haul. It's going to cost this much to inspect. It's going to cost this much
To put it back in.
to pull it out or to install, all the services that they provide. If work needs to be done, their labor cost is X. So, from our perspective, they are contracted by the town to be the mooring servicing agent for that field. And then they're responsible for reaching out to their mooring permit holders saying, this is our cost structure, this is the services that we provide per our contract with the town. So you need, in my mind, you need to make it pretty darn clear what you want done. If you want to set your own mooring, you have the ability to do that per our management plan. And if you don't want them to haul it in the season and you want to leave it in, you need to make sure they understand that. So you're right, we, the two of us, don't have time to police that
Well, it shouldn't
effort,
be, I was gonna
right?
say, like,
It's
not your
not up to
job
us.
to-
It really is, in my mind, and Billy can speak to that because he deals more with the mooring world than I do. It's really up to the permit holder to make sure they're communicating what they want done for the year. So
Yeah, and for the most part, if people come in and they say, I don't agree with this or that, first thing I'll always try to do is, can you just go to that provider and try to work it out amongst yourselves? And 95% of the time, they
Like,
can come to an agreement.
Like, I'll put a winter stick on mine and they still pull it. And I'm like,
did you tell them not to?
No.
Tell them not to. I mean, that's my point.
no, I have.
Oh, okay.
But
then there's a problem.
But then, yeah, I mean, it gets worked out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like, it's just an annoyance. So because once it's out, then they have to put it back in. Then I get a bill to put it back in. Like, well, I didn't ask you to pull it in the first place. So
Yeah.
why am I getting a bill? And then it's June when I wanted it in April. So it's just that weird fuzzy gray area because I think it's a small portion of mooring holders that actually like do stuff for themselves.
Right.
Everybody else, it's kind of.
I mean, my recommendation is
and
do
it's not a
everything.
complaint. It's more just a.
My recommendation is do everything in writing.
And we have, I remember, I think it was Greg Walensky or Eric Hess, I forget which one, had the same kind of thing. It was pulled, and they didn't really want it pulled, and but they went down and just talked with them, and I don't know what their agreement
Right.
came to. I think, Harwich Court said, okay, we'll just put it in for nothing because we weren't clear on what was going on.
I think all of them are
So
pretty
for the most part,
reasonable.
it's worked out,
Yeah.
but, I mean, if we,
Yeah, if the contract with the town is that you stay in that little area, so you don't have guys coming in and
Yeah.
other companies coming in to if there's
exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, and
All our mooring fields are so tight,
Yeah.
frankly. And it takes really a centralized management of that mooring field, I think. And I think we've been pretty successful at it. I know
if it was a free for all, it would be a mess.
it would be tough.
It would.
Yeah.
Yes.
it's different than some other towns that have like kind of sprawling wide open
Yeah.
areas that
Yeah.
you can kind of,
Yeah, here you're measuring swing rate.
it would be so
Take
hard
4
to-
links out of that chain.
Right, yeah.
Right.
So I make a motion to accept John's memo to go forward with the board.
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Thank you. That's great.
All right, and then no.
Everybody in favor?
Oh yeah, sorry.
I was just wondering.
Anyone all in favor?
Aye. Keep you on your toes.
Yeah, I know. Let's see here. Aye. So now we got monthly reports. Nothing from the Board of Selectmen.
So my
Harbor
monthly
Master.
report is my annual report. Hopefully you had an opportunity to look at it. I think I put it with the packet. I think it was a good year. I tried to, just put the highlights of it. Our revenues are listed in there, which were good. Our maritime assistance cases were significantly down, which is a good thing. I tried to kind of explain what I thought was the reason. Our tows were significantly down, and to me, I think a lot of people now are relying on commercial assistance like Towboat, I think their presence has been a positive thing in the area. And anyways, that's
Do you charge for
that's
tows?
my
Did you-
opinion.
did
We
they-
do not. They
Don't,
do.
huh? Yeah, oh yeah.
Yeah, no, we don't.
Wow.
We don't. We can't. So, but anyways, we have kind of a downward trend over the last 4 years, and I think that's a positive thing from a maritime assistance cases perspective. But we do keep them 24/7 readiness, boat ready to go, and our staff is always ready. So I'm proud of that because it's an effort to do. So. What else can I speak to
I
in
have
the?
one question.
Yeah.
Just on the breakdown by year.
Yeah.
I don't know, what happened with the snack shack
That was my question.
in the world of revenue?
Yeah, that's a great
I mean,
question.
is it just strictly, is it because it's a percentage? Is that, so they
So,
did less, or?
well, one, we had a new vendor come in. So
In
we
24?
had a license agreement with the first owner, Joe Griffiths, if you remember. And the way the agreement was set up, we had a certain percent or a certain dollar value that they would pay the town right up front, and then a percent of
Right.
sales, if you remember correctly.
Yep.
And it was a good agreement.
Yeah,
When
right.
we had to go back out and reissue, the terms were changed. I'll just leave it at that. And
Yep.
so it wasn't as
But this was his second
it
season.
wasn't as
That was what I was just
beneficial
gonna say, is
to the
this,
town.
on the 24, I don't know, in the calendar year of 24 versus 23, I mean, was it?
I don't think he did as
23?
good.
Don't make him look at the little numbers. Come on.
I can do this. So, yeah, I mean, so again, that one, the way the structure's set up, year one, they pay the town, and I'm just gonna throw numbers out, because I don't know what they are. It's close to this. They pay the town $10,000 upfront, and then a certain percentage of sales. Year two, they pay the town 12 grand. Year three, they pay the town 15 grand upfront. It increases
Right.
in addition to the percentage of sales. So, I think their revenues probably weren't as good as their first year
Yep.
when they first, did it in 23. It is,
Does that money go to, I don't know, the harbor?
no.
Isn't that an agreement between the town and the vendor? Right? I mean, he's renting
That
the
money
space.
goes into the general fund.
Right, so you don't even, it's really not even
Well,
pertinent.
so we-
You don't have any expenses against this.
I don't have any expenses against it, other than we're paying for the project that built the building,
It's
right?
in the- yeah, it's in
I
the
mean,
debt. It's in the
deferred
debt.
maintenance, cleaning,
Oh,
all
yeah.
that stuff.
We got all that stuff.
You,
So-
you put all that.
I have year two of making the request, and it hasn't happened yet, and I don't know if it will, but I have always said we need to make a revolving account where this money goes into,
Yeah.
so that we can utilize it for maintenance of the building. And I've yet to be successful.
Yeah, they don't want to
The
do
town
that.
doesn't like revolving accounts,
No,
for
no.
one. And so I think that needs to happen. I've asked for it again this year. I don't expect that it'll happen, but it does take money. Like last year, we had some equipment go down, and we had to pay to have people come in and fix it or replace it, and that money's coming out of our harbor master department budget, some out of facilities maintenance budget, and I had to actually go to the town for some because, it was too much. So, that money should be going to that,
Right.
but it's not currently.
Can you have a revolving account with like a cap on it? Like, you keep 50 grand and then
Yeah, I don't
anything
know,
over
Larry,
50.
I'm not sure.
They
I
haven't
wouldn't.
liked revolving funds around.
No,
here,
but you
so-
know what I mean?
Yeah, I
That
know
way
what you
you,
mean.
that way you
Commission,
have
yeah.
a piggy bank to play with,
Yeah.
and then everything else goes back in.
I would guess you can, but I don't really know the whole details of a revolving account. I just know the town frowns upon a revolving account. So. So anyways, I think that's it. We spoke a little, I added a little detail about a couple of issues with dredging, the big increase going from $12 a cubic yard to $26.50 a cubic yard, which is a significant jump. And it just really increases our costs. It's still the best game in town if you were to compare it to going out to the private sector, but it's something that we had to account for. And then, I just put in there all the dredge permits that we finally got. I've been working dredge permits for the past almost 7 years, trying to update our 10-year comprehensive dredge permit, and it's been approved, and so we have a permit in place for the next 10 years, which is great. But anyways, if there's any other questions, so. We did it.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Well, I make that motion. But,
So if I can, real quick, before we do adjourn.
yes, absolutely.
I would just like to say, this is my last meeting, I'm retiring, and you guys probably are aware of that, but I am here, really, my official retirement date is January 30th, so I'm gonna be retired, and Billy is gonna be standing in until we get a new guy or girl on board. The announcement is out internally, and tomorrow, or Friday, it will go out externally for 2 weeks, and I've had some people already ask about the job, so I think we're going to have some interest. So hopefully we'll get a new person on board within a month or so. But yeah, I'm done.
Congratulations.
Congratulations, John.
Thanks.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, and I appreciate all the support over the years, that the Waterways have given us. I think, we've done some good things in the town, and hopefully the new guy will just pick it up and
Keep
move
going.
forward.
You did a
Keep
lot.
going.
You did
Yeah.
a lot with that
Thank you.
marina and
Thank
stuff,
you.
we
did a lot. It was
Yeah.
a group effort. All of us worked hard at it, and I think we got one of the best marinas around. So
Yeah,
agree.
thanks to you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
good job.
Thanks, man.
So January 30th and February 1st, you out of Dodge?
February 1st. Well,
So-
I
somewhere
am
warm.
I'm moving to. I have a house in Horseshoe Bay, Texas. That I'm going to end up spending the winters there and summers here. So I'm keeping my little place here in Harwich, and
Nice.
I'll be here every summer and have my boat at the marina. And so
Great.
I'll be around.
No discount.
No discount. Billy will make sure of that.
He's gonna be on call for $14.95 an hour.
Yeah, but it's been a pleasure. So thanks, everybody.
Thank you. All right, make a motion to adjourn.
It's been
Absolutely, I
our
second
pleasure,
it.
thank you.
All right. Who primarily accepts it?
We all do.
Kent and Larry, all right. And that is at
Aye.
6:42. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
The ayes have it.
Ah,
All right.
John's last meeting, I didn't realize that.
That's it. I know, right?